Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey everybody, excited to bring another special guest to you today. Today we have Kenny Hyder with Hyder Media. Welcome, Kenny.
Hello. Thank you so much.
All right. So we appreciate you coming and talking to us. You know, something that, that Dave and I always love chatting about just in general with people. And, we're always trying to tell people to diversify and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Mm-hmm. SEO is just a piece of the puzzle. Affiliate marketing is another piece. Content's another piece. PPC is another piece, whatever it might be. And so one of the social media. Exactly.
Only do social media.
Remember when social media was like the buzzword, and now we all forget about it as like a channel? It's just kind of part of life.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that we that I wanted to I thought would be fun to have a good conversation with you about was you started your background actually as an SEO. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yes, absolutely true.
And now you've transitioned more into the PPC realm, and not just
I'm doing
PPC,
a lot of paid these days. Yeah.
So yeah, and when we were all at Pubcon recently, Pubcon Vegas 2017, and so one of the sessions that you were on was the big SEO versus PPC panel.
Yes.
And I thought that it would be fun to have a conversation about that and just kind of share some of your high level takeaways and what you think. Is SEO really dead? Is PPC the way to go? What people should be doing. And again, this is going to spark a whole conversation, but I would love for you to just jump into it and kind of just share your thoughts of what you got from that whole experience.
Yeah. So, I pitched that session and, I got it or whatever. And it was interesting because, John Henshaw was our moderator, right? It was me and Andrew Goodman, and then Henshaw was moderating. So, a few months before the conference or whatever, we were doing our kind of like prep and all this stuff and trying to figure out what we were going to do and everything. And it was kind of funny actually to me. Like, I didn't think about it at first, but, as soon as like Henshaw started emailing out, this thread and stuff, I realized, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be the SEO guy. I didn't realize, oh shit, I pitched this. Yeah. And I'm just like, I was designated as the SEO guy because that's kind of how I've been known, and I didn't even think, like, it didn't even cross my mind when I'm pitching this, like, I'm going to have to take a stance here. You know what I mean? Because I pitched SEO versus PPC. It's like kind of and I didn't even think about it, And so we started this thread talking about stuff, and I was like, people are expecting this to be like a debate, like I have an opinion about which one you should choose. You know what I mean? But it's really interesting. To me, it's kind of like, you guys seen that commercial? I think it's like for like Ortega or, some taco shells or something like that. There's this little girl and she's like, ¿Por qué no los dos? Why not both? You know what I mean? And it's just like, why, wait, what? We're choosing sides on this? Why do we have to choose a side? But yeah, it's kind of fascinating because, as we were kind of talking about this whole thing, I guess at the end of the day, right, you shouldn't have to choose. But number one, if you were going to choose, it's interesting because the word PPC means, something I think that we all kind of like pigeonhole into like one specific type of advertising. But then, I think more recently, we all talk about, I do paid, right? And it's not just, it's not just AdWords, right? There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's all these, platforms and stuff. So with paid advertising, it's kind of like, right. Are you kidding me? You're gonna try to debate, search engines versus all other forms of advertising? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, first of all, there's way more places to advertise than just Google. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this, and that's really for me. Yeah. The past however long or whatever, getting more into paid, and and really, I'm not. I'm not getting away from SEO. I'm still doing it. I actually still do a decent amount of SEO. It's just all, SEO for me is more of a consultant role, whereas paid, I'm a consultant, but I also do, I have my own things, right? So I'm more kind of day-to-day involved in stuff on things that I care about. Whereas with SEO, it's kind of like, more advisory roles with my clients or whatever. But, yeah, it's kind of fascinating the way that things have evolved recently. I mean, besides Google, and Google is a whole thing you can get into with paid as well. And there's this whole, AdWords itself is like, when you think about, like, people think about PPC and they think of search ads. But what they don't realize is first of all, what about the display network? Like, you could advertise on any site on the internet with Google Display, assuming they're not blocking you or whatever. Yeah. Or YouTube or all these other properties, you know what I mean? And people don't really think of this whole context as like, this is such a broad category, when you talk about paid ads or paid, marketing or whatever it is, that, so much opportunity there. And even with Google itself, like, in my opinion, it's like, okay, it really kind of comes down to what's your goal? Are you trying to sell a product? Are you trying to get someone to sign up? Are you trying to generate leads? What's your goal, right? And with, the whole topic of SEO versus PPC, it really kind of depends because, obviously search is search and there's like this whole relevancy thing that happens. If someone's searching for something, you already have like a person that's in a totally different mindset of trying to find something. And if you show up in their searching, that's a huge win and really, really important for a lot of types of businesses, especially when it comes to like branding and all that stuff. But if you're talking about ads that aren't search-based, it's like there's this whole, people don't, they kind of forget like, oh, well, sometimes you're advertised to, and when you're advertised to, you become aware of things that you didn't know existed. And sometimes when it's really relevant and when those advertisers are good, you sign up or you buy and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know I had this need. I didn't know that there was a company that was solving this problem that I had that I wasn't aware of. You know what I mean? So advertising itself is kind of like so much broader in a sense of like, get stuff in front of people that don't know that you have it. Whereas search is like, show up so that people know that you're there when they're looking for the kinds of things that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's some fantastic insight, and I really hope that everybody was paying attention and listening to all that. But one of the things that I guess is frustrating, and maybe Dave can speak more of this as being the lone man shop. Just those clients that come in and are trying to get you to tell them, what area that you should focus on. So when you have those conversations, Kenny, with clients, like what would be your best suggestions as far as those that may be wondering the same thing that are listening to this podcast, like where should my dollars go? Let's say I'm a small mom and pop. I have a certain amount of time to work on this. I have a certain small budget. Where should my dollars go? Should it all be going into paid? Should it all be going into what certain type of paid? Should it just be going into just SEO? You know what I mean? Like how do you find that balance with those type of clients?
Right. Well, and that, for me, this is why I really love what I do is because, I'm good at this and that, and I know about websites and blah, blah, blah. We all have a lot of knowledge, right? Especially in the industry for 10 plus years, we all know way too much stuff. And a lot of it is just like stuff that you have to know, but it's not important to know until it's relevant. You know what I mean? For me, the interesting part about this kind of job is not being good at knowing about websites or knowing how to, set up ad campaigns. It's really being able to interact and deal with so many different types of businesses and understand how they work. It's fascinating to me. Like, we're all business owners, but our business is other business, like knowing about other businesses. So it's been really, and that's kind of why I think so many of us, like, we have like categories of things that we're known as. Like, oh, do you know, who's the SEO for this category? It's like, oh, you can name a couple people that like had clients or work for a company that was big in that space. Because you get, there is a relevancy thing when you understand about certain types of businesses and how they operate and how they monetize and all this stuff. But for me, when a client comes in, they don't really know, the first thing I do is, okay, well, how do you make money? What do you do? What's your business plan? You know what I mean? And trying to really kind of integrate into, the client's, day to day of understanding how their business operates and what their plans are for growth and all that stuff. Because it's really different, right? So for example, if you're selling a product, right? If you're selling some sort of good, obviously there's search. If people are looking for that product, then great. If you're selling sneakers, then okay, well, some people search and buy sneakers online, and maybe you can get in front of them, right? But that's already a really convoluted, crowded space. So how do you become the best sneaker? You know what I mean? And that's not really like a thing. It's like, okay, well, do you have Nikes or not? I don't. It's just kind of people already know about shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got shoes, right? Well, yeah, sure. I guess Yeezys is it, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
If you ask Kanye, his shoes are the best. Don't argue with Yeezy.
Well, it's like, okay, well, what let's drill this down. Okay, sneakers. Okay, well, what kind of sneakers? Is it athletic shoe? Is it fancy dress footwear or whatever? And then, you got to think about, okay, well, maybe some people are going to search for this, but maybe, first of all, there's so many different kinds. I can't remember the last time I went and bought shoes, but I do like shoes, right? But when I buy them, it's kind of like, oh, I need some shoes, and then I go buy shoes. And a lot of times those types of decisions, whether it's shoes or whatever, are formed by the ads that we've been seeing recently. And, you get advertised to constantly over these things, and then maybe you go check out a site, and then you get remarketed, and then it follows you around the internet forever until you buy something, right? And at the end of the cycle, a lot of people end up searching to find, to refine their, interest in things that they've been being advertised to about. So it ends up, being like a search funnel kind of question. But really, in the beginning, okay, well, this person got in their mind, like, I need to buy shoes. They didn't search, should I buy shoes today? They searched for, oh, I've been seeing some ads. I want to find, these Yeezys or whatever, like I need a discount or, So it's really interesting to me because, you really got to think about, okay, well, how do you get customers? Like, it's a sales problem, right? So where you spend your money on marketing yourself really depends on, how are you going to get people to know about and buy your products or services, and that question has a totally different answer depending on what kind of business you are. If you're an e-commerce or you're a local business, or say you do you're like a personal chef or something in a city, like that's a whole different world than sneakers. You know what I mean? And the way that you approach marketing for that is like going to be very different, and you really have to kind of analyze like where's the best focus to try to get things accelerated as quickly as possible so that eventually you can kind of branch out and then spend more money on all those other channels, right?
Matt, so I have a bit of an answer to that, but then also a question to how Kenny would do it. So what I've noticed, when you do have a limited budget or you have a limited understanding in most companies that I deal with, and Kenny and stuff, Matt, you too, what is the LTV of your customers? What is the typical... What is your goal CPA to get to your, cost per lead? Sorry, CPL. What do you need that to be for you to make money? A lot of times they're like, what?
Right.
No idea. Right. But then also there's the immediacy of PPC versus the long term of SEO. And often, and Kenny, maybe you do this or have done this before, and Matt, maybe you've even done it with some of your clients. But a lot of times I was last year, I was in I had a client and we did a bunch of keyword research and we were doing a bunch of stuff. And the next project was going to be, okay, now what keywords make sense? What verticals, what sub products are we going to go for? And we couldn't decide. There was no consensus on which keywords, which themes, which topics to even go for. And one of the things I suggested was, okay, do we have a $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 PPC budget? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's take some of these keywords and some of these topics and products and levels of service, and let's do some quick PPC ads, and let's figure out what the real impressions are. You guys rank for some of these keywords, you rank for others you don't. Let's understand where the true opportunity is. And so my suggestion was to use PPC to validate some keywords and topics that would possibly generate business.
Well, no. What I was going to say, Dave, I'm glad that you said that, because that's exactly one of the points that I was hoping we would get into, and I'll let you finish your question with Kenny, but hopefully I'll answer to this. That's what we do at Avalanche Media. We've actually found that a ton of the data that we get from the PPC, we're actually using it for the SEO. Like they scratch each other's back perfectly, And I know that that's not, from someone that's an old school SEO, I'm like, whatever. But anyway, I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's totally the right way to approach it. It's so much easier going into a problem knowing the data than it is, SEO is like, it's arduous. You can't just pop up a page and rank right away, whereas ads you can, so if you have that accessibility and, forget about all of this not provided stuff that Google's thrown on us, over the past few years and, trying to smoke and mirrors this game, it really kind of ticks me off, right? Because it's like Google, they make like $70 billion a quarter, and it's all because of ads. But the only reason they make any money on ads is because they have an organic search engine that's good, apparently. You know what I mean? And it's like, so they're making all this money on being a search engine, but then they're really just advertising everywhere. But it's their playground, right? So let's use their tools. Okay, so this is what they want to do. Cool. Let's run some ads, see what works, and then focus on long-term strategy of, okay, well, we know that these keywords convert really well for us on these products or whatever, because we're able to pop up some ads and see that data and see those conversion numbers and metrics and everything. And then you can really focus on, okay, well, this is important. So now let's go get some links or whatever it is you need to do to, kind of support the organic side. And really at the end of the day, as we all know, it's always better to have more real estate and show up in more places. And if you're ranking organically, and other people have ads and you don't, that's a loss, so you want to be there too,
So I'm just curious because, going back to this session that you were at, I'm just curious, just mostly just to kind of see what the temperature of the crowd was. Were we, was it everybody, kind of getting along and agreeing like we are now, saying, hey, they should handshake each other and scratch each other's back and whatnot? Or did it get pretty heated? Like what was it like?
Well, so the funny thing was, after we'd had some email threads trying to plan this out, and I've known Henshaw for a long time, so it was fun kind of talking to him, but he almost was mad because, back in the day, Henshaw and I used to do, we used to work on some clients together years ago. So he knows me as an SEO, and I showed up and I was, in this email thread leading up to the conference, I was talking to him. I'm like, well, this is really funny because I do more PPC these days than I do SEO. And it kind of made him mad. And he's like moderating, and he got up on the stage and he's like, well, Kenny says he does ads now, but I'm definitely for SEO. And he's like, I stand on the SEO side. And it was like really funny because he's like sticking up for it. And I was like, hey, it's cool. Don't, just relax. Don't shoot me. But, I think it's at this point, if you do SEO, that means you have searched on Google. And if you search on Google, you've seen ads. And there's just no, you can't deny it. It's not like you can just wish that they're going to stop putting ads on Google someday. So I think at this point, most people kind of have this understanding of like, hey, this is just how things are. Advertising works, and the ads are there because people search for things. So let's be found in search and then also advertise to them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, all right, well, put on your hat and just do it.
Well, one of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten from you, and I love this because one of the things that I'm not a huge fan of is getting a big group of SEOs or PPC people together and then just bashing Google. Like,
right.
What good is that?
It's such a waste of steam. Yeah.
Well, it is, and all of us have really good lives because of what because of Google, as you mentioned before, and so. That's one of the big takeaways that I want people to get from this is, and maybe you could share your final thoughts on this and wrapping things up. But just instead of spending all your time and energy, talking about how much you hate Google's doing something stupid or this or that or whatever, figure out how to take advantage of what they're doing and try to see why they're doing what they're doing and how they're trying to make a better user experience and it's trying to make a better experience for us all. And
yeah, I think
I don't know. Maybe
so. First of all,
wrap up your thoughts.
I guess we didn't discuss this, but I'm pretty sure all three of us are sitting at home right now on a Monday morning. So
yes, correct.
Yes,
we are.
Right.
And I've actually been in all of our homes before at one point.
And I actually have clothes on.
I put clothes on because I went out to get coffee, but normally I just have my robe on because I'm out of beans, so I wasn't able to make my coffee this morning. But, to quote Sammy Sosa, right, and he said this about baseball, but, to paraphrase and quote Sammy Sosa, Google's been very, very good to me. It's like, it's a problem. We all fight Google in a sense on the daily, and, we have to keep up and know about things and, stress out about changes and then, algorithm updates and things, people lose rankings. It's like, oh man, we've all pulled our hair out over Google for years now. But at the end of the day, we're all sitting at home. We're all making money off of Google. And, what a great thing. Like, amazing. How could you be mad at them? Like, okay, yeah, they make $70 billion a quarter. That's money I can't even think about. But, I have a nice life. I able to do my thing. I provide a decent value to the people that I work with, and they're happy about it, and I'm happy that I'm, just some internet geek that no one cares about, but it's like, whatever, I just do my thing. So how can I be mad at Google? They've provided my career.
Well, and all of the clients that you work with, Kenny and Matt and I, think of the number of businesses that make money off of Google, whether it's SEO, PPC, or whatever.
Millions.
Rather than, having to rely on billboards and yellow pages and hoping that someone, that the name of my company,
Auto, so it's number one on the
and hoping that word of mouth or to be able to have just that many more levers. I can't talk today. And Kenny just talked about it. Let's see, just from a paid side, there's Facebook, like just the number of ways you can advertise on Facebook is ridiculous. The number of ways you can advertise on Google and on YouTube and display and all that stuff. And then there's SEO.
Twitter.
Yeah. There's so many different places you can go now that it's really hard to argue whether it's Google or Facebook or any of them that, they drive us crazy. And I know someone was just posting the other day or this morning about, Facebook changes that they're making to their editor for ads. Yeah. But it's like, but if it wasn't there, that's another audience you don't have access to.
Yeah, it's really a great world, and it's such a good community to be a part of, and I just it's great to. The other really cool thing about this whole world is like, geez, I can't remember the first time I met either of you. It was years ago, and we're still here, we're still doing this, and it's great, and yeah, just be happy about it, Just
great advice, Kenny. And again, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us on one of these episodes, and hopefully maybe we could do another one of these a year from now and talk about what kind of new stuff went on in another one of these PPC versus SEO type sessions. So,
I love that. Yeah, great.
Anyway, any final thoughts, Dave?
Nope. I think we covered it.
All right. Well, I appreciate it again, guys. For Dave Rohr, I'm Matt Sotzla. Thank you for joining us on one of these business digital podcasts, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.